All right, in this video, I'm going to do the respiratory system and the circulatory system. You'll notice that I just have diagrams up. So I am going to post some notes that you can add to it, but I want you to just add things on your own as if you were sitting in a college class and you had to add information as you go. I know you've learned about the respiratory, circulatory, digestive, some of the systems before. In AP Bio, we're just going to go a little bit deeper. Here we have respiratory system. So obviously we have the lungs. The job of your nose and your mouth is to try and filter out some things so that they don't actually ever end up in your body. That's why you have hairs that line your nose, and they actually line the inner part of your trachea as well. They help warm the air that's coming in. It comes in through your trachea, which eventually becomes your bronchi, and then the bronchi branch into two bronchi and then bronchioles. If you have bronchitis, it's your bronchioles that get infected. The bronchioles keep branching more and more until, if you blow up the picture right here, you can see alveoli. So alveoli are these air sacs, and every air sac is surrounded by capillaries. The capillaries are thin. You have three types of blood vessels: arteries, veins, and capillaries. Capillaries are the only ones where diffusion can occur through them. So, blood that's coming from your body is deoxygenated, very poor levels of oxygen. So that needs to come to the lungs to receive oxygen. The carbon dioxide will go out and you will breathe it out. The oxygen will come in. That oxygen-rich blood now needs to go to your heart so that it can get pumped to the rest of your body. These pictures show the alveoli enlarged a little bit more. Scanning electron microscopes just show it in a larger picture. I like to show this because I want to mention as many disorders that occur. Emphysema is another really common disorder for smokers. The alveoli become very rigid and no longer elastic, and so they do not expand and contract very well. So when you take in air, they have a lot of trouble breathing because they won't expand and fill up with air. They actually can die, and you can only have part of your lungs working if you have emphysema really bad. Here underneath the lungs, you'll notice the diaphragm. That is a muscle that allows the lungs to contract and expand to allow air to enter. All right, on my next slide here, this is showing one alveolus, so a single part of the alveoli, and a single capillary. The walls are only one cell thick, so diffusion can occur. And here we have carbon dioxide going out of the capillary, and you can exhale it out of your body. And then we have oxygen coming in and binding to a red blood cell. All right. This I absolutely want you to write down in your notes. This is what happens to carbon dioxide in your blood. So, as you do respiration, our last unit, you produced carbon dioxide. It is a waste and you need to get it out of your body. In your blood, it immediately mixes with water and forms carbonic acid. Acids always dissociate. Dissociate means break apart. When it breaks apart, it's an acid. It donates an H+ to the solution. So, your normal blood is 7.4. That is the normal pH of your blood. The more bicarbonate ions there are in your blood, the lower the pH is going to go. So if you are exercising, you increase the amount of CO2 and you increase the acidity of your blood. That causes your diaphragm to realize, wow, I need to breathe more, and that's how you exhale more and get the carbon dioxide out of your blood. You actually have chemo receptors, chemical receptors, in the base of your neck. They're in your medulla, and they constantly monitor the acidity of your blood. They send a message to your diaphragm, and that causes you to contract more and breathe out the air. If you don't, if your blood even gets to a 7.2, you will pass out. If it gets as low as a 7.0, you will die. So this is how your body regulates breathing, because it's constantly monitoring the acidity of your blood and helping you exhale more. All right, this I wanted to show you because it shows you the types of cells that are found in your blood. The most abundant by far are these red blood cells. You'll notice they don't really have a nucleus. They have this dipped in shape. They have many hemoglobin molecules. In the middle of every hemoglobin molecule, remember that was a quaternary protein. It has 4 fibers coming into it, 4 protein fibers. In the middle is iron, and that's what causes it to have the red color. The iron is very good at binding oxygen, so they have an affinity to oxygen. They're able to bind oxygen. So that's the job of a red blood cell. They mature in your bone marrow. These small yellow molecules or brownish molecules that you see are platelets. They are fragments of cells or simply proteins. They allow your blood to clot. When they're exposed to oxygen, they release fibrin, which helps with clotting. These very large cells are white blood cells, and when we do the immune system, we're going to talk about B cells and T cells. We're going to talk about macrophages, neutrophils, natural killer cells. Any of these cells make up lymphocytes or white blood cells in your body. All right, here we're going to begin the circulatory system. So circulatory is all about carrying gases, waste, nutrients, hormones, anything through your blood. So this picture is showing plenty of blood vessels. And I know that you know a lot about this already. The red is showing you oxygen-rich vessels. The blue is showing you oxygen-deprived or carbon dioxide-rich vessels. The heart is, of course, the pump. And the arteries all lead away from the heart, and the veins all lead to the heart. I'm going to go through the parts of the heart in a second. Here is just showing you again. Here is an artery coming from the heart, red, oxygen-rich. It branches smaller and smaller. So when you have the smallest branches, those are capillaries, and then they will fuse back together to form a vein, and a vein goes to the heart. If you don't already remember the really basic way of remembering, A, artery, goes away from the heart. Vein ends in the letters IN, that goes into your heart. The artery has blood under the highest pressure because it is coming directly from the heart muscle. So when you measure your blood pressure, you usually go for an artery right in your upper arm, and you put pressure on your arm. You're all going to do this in class as part of a lab. You put pressure on your arm until you close off that artery, and then measure the pressure as you open it up. What is the pressure from the heart on the artery as blood flows through it and as it relaxes? All right, parts of a heart. So you are going to need to learn how to draw a heart, label a heart, and know all the parts. So actually, instead of this nice diagram, which we'll have lots of diagrams in class, I'll show you how I draw a heart. You can start by actually drawing a heart. It's sort of a fat heart, but you can start this way. The top entering spaces are called atriums. If this looks like the left side, it's really the right. So here is my right atrium, here is my left atrium. Here, you draw them sort of like V's, so they look like these. This would be the right ventricle and the left ventricle. Now, when you look at a heart, you're not always going to see it from the same view. We're going to have hearts that you hold in your hand and dissect in class. So when we're holding it, you're not going to know, oh, is this the right side or the left side? So this is what you do. The thickness of the wall is the greatest on the left side. And the reason why, the left side of your heart is going to pump to your aorta and pump blood to your entire body. So it needs to be the most muscular. This wall will be much thinner on the right side. So if it's just in your hand and you're trying to figure out which one, look for the thickness of the walls. The second way you can do it is to find the aorta and trace it back. Might sound gross, some of you love it. I put my finger right in it. So if you follow your finger down the aorta, you lead to the left ventricle and you'll find the left atrium. So I'm going to make a blood vessel going out of the left ventricle, and I'm going to label that the aorta, and I'm going to draw an arrow and write body. Your blood that comes into the left atrium is coming in from the lungs. It is therefore called the pulmonary, because anything that has to do with lungs has that word pulmonary, and it's going into the heart, so this is the pulmonary vein. So oxygenated blood comes from the lungs to the pulmonary vein, into the left atrium, to the left ventricle, to the aorta, and to the whole body. Throughout the body, you have capillaries in every single tissue of your body. That is where the exchange of oxygen occurs and the exchange of carbon dioxide. So then from the body, all that deoxygenated blood needs to make it back to the heart. It goes into the right side of the heart, and it comes from the top of your body and the lower part of your body. And both of them are called vena cava. inferior vena cava, superior vena cava. So everything above your heart, if you hold your hands like this, they're above your heart. So from your arms and your head, all the blood will pool into the superior vena cava and go into your right atrium, and everything below your heart pools into the inferior vena cava and goes into the right atrium. That oxygen poor blood is going to go from the atrium to the ventricle, and now I need another another artery, not an aorta. This one is called the pulmonary artery. So the pulmonary artery is going to pump blood to the lungs. And now our cycle is complete. I should be able to start anywhere and trace the blood. So if I start at the lungs, pulmonary vein, left atrium, left ventricle, aorta, body. Back to the right atrium, right ventricle, pulmonary artery, back to the lungs. All right, in class, we're going to do lots of diagrams. We're going to get through more specific vocabulary, more specific processes. Please use your book and look at the diagrams there, and you can always Google search. If you just put in respiratory system, circulatory system, test yourself. See if you can label the parts, see if you can identify what's going on in each picture.